Welcome to episode 150 of the Muck Podcast, a member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Listen in as we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics. I'm Tina Hadamia.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
Hillary!
Hey!
I mean, what a week. What a week.
Girl.
Woo.
Tina gets here, we record very early because we liked our whole day to be free.
Yes.
And she got here at 7:30. It's now 10 after 8, and we've been just gossiping and bullshitting for 30 minutes. That should be recorded.
That should be. Look, you missed a sesh. You missed a sesh, folks.
So I have so many things just kind of to bring up, but
please, because my brain is so fried that.
Do you want to start national or do you want to start local?
Start national.
Nancy Pelosi's out. Ooh. Fucking incredible.
Oh my God.
I was shocked, but also like, thank God.
I almost texted you and I was like, I'll save it for the podcast.
Stepping down. All right, Nancy, step on out of here.
But did you see the shade that she threw?
No.
She was like, I've really enjoyed working with 3 presidents. It was 4 because like Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
I was like, oh, look at you.
Don't make me do
lady.
math, Nancy.
Look at you, lady.
God.
So I thought
you
that
know
was
what?
funny. But it's about time.
Yeah. You know, well, I guess when your husband gets a hammer to his head, it's time to step out.
Time.
You might be a target. I mean, my God. Which I think is the only reason she left. Because her family's in physical fucking danger. Which they probably always have been. But like, this is crazy.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's time. I hope that they
It's time for all these people. When I saw the other day, like a Republican elected at like 89 years old.
Mm-hmm.
89.
Oh, please.
Why are you people electing an 89-year-old?
Ridiculous.
Why is an 89-year-old running?
Fucking idiot.
Can you imagine they're knocking door to door? Like,
no, they're not. There's no way. Because once you're elected, it's all name recognition at that point. Yeah. All you have to do is get that first win.
Yeah.
And if you can stay under the radar and smooth sail through all that, you're fucking elected over and over and over again.
Term limits, people.
Oh, term limits are very important. Anyway, so bye, Nancy. Thanks for all your work. I don't know. I know she did a lot. People were very sad, posting stuff everywhere.
What?
I was like, all right. I mean,
why are they sad?
I don't know.
This is.
Because she's sassy? I guess because you like a little sass in your politics. I just want her to recognize like failures of the Democratic Party and fix them. I don't want her, I don't know, stumping for a pro-life fucking Democrat a year ago.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
To win in Texas?
Instead of Cisneros.
Yeah.
We still remember, Nancy.
Yeah, we remember. And believe me, she was doing that the entire time. Oh my God. Also, here's something about her though that I saw. You know, she was a housewife for most of her life, I guess, and she ran for office for the first time at 47 years old, which I thought was pretty fucking cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I listen.
Like she raised her kids, and she's like, you know what, I want to run for office.
No,
I love that.
Listen,
I love that.
That's great, but I feel like people. Like, it's too much.
But she's been there 40 years.
Too
like
much.
40, she's been elected for 40 years.
Oh my God. Go home. How is she not tired?
I don't know. It's so crazy.
It's crazy.
But it's such a, again, you know, God, we got to get that guy on here who wrote that book. It's that psychological thing. We always talk about it with voters, with electeds. It's like there's something else going on that's motivating this person. And that's how you manipulate voters too. How can we motivate them to vote for us or not vote for the other guy? That's the name of the fucking game. It's manipulation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, you know, there's Nancy. I also wanted to say, so, you know, all right, listen, I have something to say.
Okay.
On our last podcast and a couple other ones, I was saying some pretty harsh things about people at the Broward Democratic Party. I'm not apologizing for them because it really was, I was angry and like we had talked about maybe we should take some of this shit out. And I was like, no, because this is a direct reaction to, like, it's a real reaction to how I was feeling in the moment. So in an effort to, like, understand what is going on and how organizations are going in Broward after the election, like, hearing what they have to say, Monday night I went to the Broward Young Democrats meeting run by Nancy Fry, our friend and amazing woman. And they did this whole SWOT analysis where they broke up into 4 teams, and one team was working on just on their organization, to reflect on their organization, their strengths, their weaknesses during the cycle, threats, or I think the other one was like achievements, maybe, I don't know, something where it's like, let's talk about where we can improve, where we were great, about themselves, and it was incredible to see an organization thoughtfully, without malice or like trying to tear each other apart, figure out where they can improve in the next cycle.
Right.
Loved it. It was positive. It was what do I want to say? Productive.
Yeah.
Right? Like good things. And I said to Nancy, God, it would be really fucking incredible that tomorrow, when we go to the Broward Dems meeting, because I went to it, as you did, that they did this.
Yeah.
And that everybody broke out into those 4 teams, and we actually have a real conversation about like what can be better here and where we went wrong and what we can do better. Of course, that didn't happen. And when Nancy brought it up on Tuesday night, the chair was like, "Oh, we have time. We can do that later on." Like it was just, which is what it always is when I go. So I went to the Broward Dems meeting clearly, like just really to hear, to listen, about what their plan was going forward. I don't want to hear about what you've done. I just want to hear about like moving forward, what we can do. And it was shocking to walk into that room again for the first time in like 4 years and see that not much has changed. Especially since you have a brand new board they've had for 2 years. Like it's the same volunteers, the same people showing up to the membership meeting. And it's weird for me to see a person that's real that I talk a lot of shit about. Like I felt very uncomfortable and upset with myself. And so I thought about you, and I thought about how you sit here and you don't say anything. And I know for a reason.
I know.
But you're smart because you know that this person exists in real life. Well, and I see them more as a figurehead. And I want to say this. I've never had a bad interaction with the chair of the Broward Democratic Party. He's a very nice man.
Very, very nice person.
He's a very nice man. Here's where it lies with me.
I think that hopefully that he would understand. I think people that are in these figurehead positions probably understand that they get the brunt of the anger. Like that's part of leading an organization. Right.
So I think where my anger or whatever, frustration more lies with him and the party in general, the whole Dem party in Broward is you didn't try anything new. You know, so when he sat there and he was banging on the table, yelling about the things that they were doing, I felt bad.
And I believe he does
absolutely, and that's
I believe he was out there knocking.
That's
every
where I
single
felt
door.
bad. I felt bad because I sat here and I said that they did nothing. I don't think the Florida Dems did anything. Let me make that clear. But I know the Broward Democratic Party did work. And I said that when I stood up to finally talk. I said, thank you for the work that you've done. I appreciate it. Like, I know they did work. The problem is the work that you did was recycled from the board before you and the board before that and the 20 years under Mitch Caesar. And we are in a different time now. And so the same old kind of plans and things that you're doing clearly don't work. Nobody came out to vote. We lost the governor's race by 20 points. So we had to do something
went
new.
wrong. Something went wrong.
Yeah. So they did work. Except I can call into question almost every single thing they did. Standing at polls doesn't do anything. Making an endorsement card where you endorse multiple Democrats in one race doesn't help anybody. You know? And so I do appreciate the work they've done. I find fault in the plan of execution, like the plan that you had is a poor plan. And I thought he's a young guy. I thought even he comes in, they're gonna shake up this place. They didn't do it. And so that's where I find fault with it. You know? So I did feel bad when I oh God, I gotta tell you, when I edit that audio and I'm listening to myself, it's horrifying. I must black out when I start screaming like that. I'm telling you what.
You don't remember?
No, and I'm listening, I go, oh my gosh, she's a monster.
No.
She's a monster.
I think, and what I love about you, and I wish I could do, I wish that I think it's courageous to be able to speak so matter-of-factly, bluntly about issues because people don't do it. And so I think we're used to not hearing people do it, and it's important to do. You know, and I
appreciate that. I think the problem is that if I was doing it and it was helping. You know, if I could say to Rick Hoy, grab him by the shoulders and be like, here's what you need to do, I would do it. But I think I'm screaming into the void. Like, I don't know if it's actually.
But I think
it just gets my blood
very
pressure
open
high.
To hearing from people.
I don't know. There's so many people wanted to talk, and I was the last one basically called up. He was like, Hillary. I was like, sorry.
I know.
And then I went after the chair of the Florida Democrat, our state committeeman.
Ooh.
What a shame. What a shame that is.
Again, having new ideas and perspectives, I think, is always and often a good thing.
And also, like, to stand in front of a group of people as our liaison to the state
and congratulate
and blame the state that you're directly working with, as if you didn't know for 2 years that there was nothing happening. And then had the balls, like, here's the thing that's shocking to me, that Ken Evans and Grace Carrington can walk into a room and just be like, sit in the front and think no one's going to yell at them, because you know what? No one does. And that's why they don't do anything. And they don't ever say anything. And they don't sound the alarm. Because nobody ever holds them accountable and is like, yo, motherfucker, what have you been doing for 2 years?
Right. And you made a very good point in, you made a post recently, really asking of that committee person, if you knew that meetings weren't happening and we are in dire straits and we know that this election is so important to get DeSantis out, right? Like, just talking about the governor's race alone. Again, why wasn't the alarm sounded?
Right. Why? That's what you put in the paper.
Why aren't you writing articles about that saying, hey, I'm a committee person in Broward, we can't get any state support. We need, like, you know what I mean? Or so posting on your social media, we're trying to get state support. There's no meetings being held. We don't know what the budget is, you know?
Yeah, Chair Diaz is not doing his, it's incompetent.
The DNC lost us $58 million. Like, the state is not helping. Like, we need emergency.
Yeah. There's so much at stake, and they choose to not do what they've been elected to do, but to walk around at galas and meetings, and he's so important. And you know what?
I mean, that's the fun part.
Those two hold so much voting power because it's a weighted vote, which means Broward, which is a huge Democratic, not only just as a large population, but huge Democratic caucus here, that their vote on the state level, it weighs more than someone in like a Seminole County Dem. Which is
because we have more people.
And so there's like 3 or 4 counties in the state that can actually alone elect the chair of the Florida Democratic Party. Those two are super important people. And they walk the way that see, now I start to question, should I say something? But the way that Grace Carrington, Committeewoman Carrington, kind of walked to the front of the room, lackadaisical, is that a good word? Is that the right?
I don't know if it was.
It was just like sauntered to the front, and she's like, well, this is a quote. To when I asked, why didn't you tell anybody about the finance that we weren't getting this money? And she goes, well, you have to understand, Chair Diaz doesn't like the finance committee to hold meetings.
I mean, that alone is a red flag.
And my jaw dropped. And I said, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, what? Oh, how is that not a fucking problem?
I mean,
how is that not a problem?
I mean, not for nothing, but money is what you need.
Yeah.
And if we're not getting, what is it, $58 million, and then we're not holding finance committee meetings?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
So I felt bad too because,
and that's not her fault that they're not holding meetings.
But the county level, so like when the Broward Dems aren't able to do everything they want to do, it's because they're not getting money from the state level. And the state level's not getting money from the DNC, the National Committee. And so all of that trickled down to where whatever the Broward Dems was able to finally do wasn't even up to everything they wanted to do because they didn't have money.
Right.
Now, that's where people power comes in. That's where you ask and beg and start.
Right.
And for 2 years, you're supposed to be building your volunteer base.
Right.
Before an election.
And they did have, I forget what they call it, but they did have different fundraising efforts, because I get all those emails where I don't want to call it the Sunshine Club. It's called something. It was, I forget.
Is it that Blue Hearts or something like that?
It's something. I don't know, but it's like, some happy, I don't know. Way to get, I forget what it's called. But I know that they were putting out efforts of like $20, and I think it was like $20 here, $20, so I think they were, trying. But again, if the same sort of email blast isn't working, maybe hold an event that you don't have to pay $100 to go to, so that people, you know what I mean? Like, or have a presence at some, different events happening in the city to engage people and get them to join. And I mean, there's a million ideas, and I feel the same way. Like, I know as a precinct captain, and I have been asking, I went through my emails to try to find the precinct captain handbook, and I still cannot find it. So I know that maybe I haven't done my duties to the best of my ability, but I did go out and knock doors, and I did do my area as much as I could, like through the Linda campaign. But maybe I need to be on another committee with, you know what I mean? I was reflecting on this myself, and like, what can what can I do to help? And so I think that's what I'm going to try to do moving forward, is seeing like, is there some committee I can get on that I can help or do something in some way, and see what happens. I mean, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm at with it. Like, if we want the change to happen, right?
We're in a lot of trouble.
So I'm like,
because the people who could make these changes happen, they're not going to do anything. Believe me. It's an unfortunate situation, and I think I know the reason I stopped being involved in the party in the first place is because I put time. I went to their trainings, I did their voter registration training, I did their van training, I did knocked on doors with them. I did a lot for them in the year and a half that was leading up to that 2018 election. Not only working on, then I worked on campaigns, I was doing Women's March things, like I was doing all of that, and when I realized that all those things that they were asking us to do were shit, I couldn't go back and do those same things again. So I would love to do work with them. I really want to try, but I can't go if you're going to try to serve me bullshit. Like, I can't eat that.
And I have to say, talking about that election cycle, I have a friend who recently, we were having a conversation, and I didn't know that this friend had volunteered for the Gillum campaign and knocked doors through the Broward Democratic Party. And she said to me, she's like, oh yeah, she's like, it was so confusing. I went to this one place, everything was a mess, and she's like, and after that, like, I just didn't want to volunteer anymore. And she stopped knocking doors because it was like chaos. And you remember, it was very chaotic. And she's like around my age, a couple years younger, and that's someone that would probably be like, that's like, we lost like a good person. You know what I mean? That would go out and knock doors.
That happens a lot.
You know, so there's something, and I didn't even know that she was like even interested in politics or anything. We just happened to have this conversation, and I was like, oh my God, like I remember that, and we kind of stuck around because we were involved in different things. But then I was like, wow, how many people who were really sort of anxious and excited to get involved because of the national political climate came out in 2018 that we may have lost.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that bothers me too is that, you know, there's no humility, there's no like, it's just, there's no like coming in and being like, this is basically what their overall, which I've heard for 6 years, is when they said on Tuesday night, well, the outcome wasn't what we wanted, but we have to move forward.
Well, of course.
And it's like,
I feel like that's obvious,
but then
how
there's
do we
no
move
self-reflection.
forward?
There's no like, here's the things we could have done better. You know, if we had more money, we really were outspent. We didn't have any resources here. That's a big deal, and that's a legitimate fucking thing.
Yeah, and they did.
The county is only doing so. Like when I said to that committee person, I said to the committee woman, I said, all I'm asking is that you go back to the Florida Dems and you ask them for a 10 to 20 year plan. No one is going to invest in the Florida Democratic Party, not even the DNC, if you don't show them what you're going to do.
Right.
Here's the steps we're going to take. No, you don't go to a bank and ask for a loan for your business and just say, I got a great idea. And they're like, here's $50,000. Right. You seem amazing. You have to say, here's the business that I want to have. Right. Here's the location I want to have it. There's no other coffee shops for 3 miles. And I think that this would be the best place to put a coffee shop because I'm near a school, I'm near offices, people will, the foot traffic during this day.
Right.
You have to have a plan. Here's how much I'm going to charge. Here's where I'm going to get my here's supplies.
The estimated revenue.
Yeah. This is how many employees I'm going to have for so many years. Like, you have to have a business plan. You have to have a plan to win. You have to have a plan to make some sort of efforts to move, to win, start to win back Florida before someone will give you money. But you can't blame the DNC, who has been investing here for 20 plus years without a Democratic governor, without watching the state slip away. You cannot blame the DNC when you have actively been participating in the demise of this thing,
right? To
where they won't give us like A plus B equals C.
Imagine if there was some huge, like, Florida social media campaign outrage, right? From all the counties of just electeds, committee people, like, the DNC is leaving us behind. The DNC is leaving us behind. And like, getting it like,
and it's not like Florida wasn't happening the entire legislative session.
Right. And
we saw the 15-week abortion ban. They saw the Don't Say Gay. They saw the Stop Woke Act. Florida was under attack by Republicans, and the DNC looks at the Florida Democratic Party and sees such fucking disarray. They're like, we know you all are getting national attention, worldwide attention, but go fuck yourselves.
Right. But sound the
that's
alarm
a real
and
fucking thing.
Call them out on not giving us money, and put pressure out there.
By the way, DeSantis is no doubt going to be the Republican nominee. He was running in the state, and the DNC still said, "Go fuck yourself. We are not even going to try to stop the next Republican presidential nominee. Well, we're not even going to do that."
Let's just say president, probably, because we already see the writing on the wall. My husband and I were talking about this, and Trump came out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, nobody's talking about it. You notice it's not even a big thing.
It's not a big thing. What's his name? Murdoch is like, bye, we're not supporting you. Because guess what? Guess who they're all in for? America, guess. DeSantis.
Yeah.
And if you thought Trump was bad, oh baby, you better watch out.
DeSantis is Trump times 100 or times 1,000,000, but you wouldn't know it because he's like this. Because he's like this.
But he also has a brain. He's not stupid.
He's not wild. He's not wild like Trump with the mouth.
Right. But he's not stupid. He's strategic, and he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yep.
So good luck trying to beat that, because that is who I feel like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. They're putting all their eggs in the DeSantis basket. Yeah. They don't give a shit about Trump, and Trump is too stupid. It was never about Trump. It was never about Trump.
Yeah.
It's about who is going to push forward their most radical ideas and who can do it well, and DeSantis can do it better than Trump.
Yeah. And, they don't even care. Republicans don't care about radical ideas. Their name of the game is winning. Being in power.
Yeah.
And how do we know that? Trump was their fucking nominee, and they all went in for it. They went in hard. McConnell was behind it because he knew he could get whatever he wanted if he did it. They all, even reasonable, even-keeled fucking Republicans will support somebody if they are winners.
Yeah, they get in line.
Yeah. And Alfredo said to me, well, now DeSantis has he's got $90 fucking million sitting there still.
And he's bringing in more money.
All he did the last 2 years is go all around the country and raise money.
Doing it.
And Alfredo's like, he's got the fundraising power. He just needs to go and introduce himself around. I go, no.
They already know him.
People love him everywhere.
I'm telling you, I have family in Pittsburgh who love him. My
sister lives in North Carolina, and she said people are there's DeSantis 2024 bumper stickers everywhere. Everywhere.
He's not only known in Florida.
No.
And if people or the DNC don't realize that, oh baby.
They're trying to keep fucking Biden alive.
So this is...
what is that going to look like?
I've been thinking about this, and you know what?
Oh my God.
So we were at a Dolphin Democrats meeting on Wednesday, and there was a cutout of Biden and Kamala. And the Biden, not for nothing. He's got a very nice smile. He's a handsome
young Joe Biden.
Young Joe Biden,
honey,
hot.
Get it.
But imagine even being older, like First Lady Biden, and this is your husband. You still got a good-looking guy.
Jill Biden's hot too.
Beautiful couple. Mm-hmm. He's got that. I feel like Joe Biden is if he was in a cartoon, he would be the cartoon. Every time he smiled, it would be like ding. Right? Yes. That's the smile that he has. And then next to is Kamala. But looking at the two pictures, because I think Joe Biden was always a good-looking guy. He's like a frat boy, I bet.
Yeah.
He's got that. You can see
he played football with one of those leather helmets.
Yeah, that's how old he is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So, there's a coolness about him.
Yes.
He seems very comfortable.
Yes.
But the Kamala next to him, that little cutout. You could see that you could see the tension in even the way the hands are being held.
She has to.
There's a tension, and
there has to be.
I'm so worried because we haven't heard much from her, and I'm so worried. And I listen. I like her. I do not think that if she is up against DeSantis that she can win.
But there has to be
the Hillary. It's going to be the Hillary problem.
Not to mention, first of all, let's analyze this for just quickly.
Like she doesn't have the charisma.
Fine, but she does. She has charisma. She's pretty fucking funny. But I did see
something.
But
it doesn't come forward.
I did see something going around on Twitter.
President.
I saw something.
I feel like she's been restrained.
Of course,
they've restrained her. I want to know the real Kamala. I'm sorry.
There's something going around on Twitter where it's her just laughing, like clips of her laughing, and I'm like, then I saw it on Instagram. I'm like, somebody's trying to push this, like softening of Kamala. But let's be honest, there has to be. Not only is she a woman, but she's a woman of color. She has to be so conscious of how she's standing, how she's looking, how she sounds all the time. Which she says. I know. And so he's allowed, as this white dude, to be fucking comfortable and cool and jokey. She can't. True. So that's the hard part, not only being a woman, but being a woman of color, it's 1,000,000 times harder. So can she ever be a presidential nominee? I don't know. I like her.
I'm not saying I don't like her.
But I think she has that problem that Val Demings had, where she's a woman of color who supports police and prisons. Well,
this is where we have a problem with the Democratic Party, right? Because it's like we were at some meeting with some I think with the Broward Times is that we have 57 interests and not 2.
Right.
And so you have people in the party that are like, oh, Kamala supports police and now I can't support. You know what I mean? Instead of just accepting that you can still be, because she was a prostitute, I get her background and Val Demings, you can still be involved in law enforcement and not be for all the bad things that are part of the system of law enforcement. You know what I mean? It's
just that Val Demings, my God.
She's amazing. What the hell,
She is amazing, but it's chief. It's such a turnoff to the black community. And so how are you going to... She lost huge in the black community.
She did?
Yeah. In those counties that are up north that Gillum won, the ones that are right on the border of Georgia, Gillum won huge. She lost in those areas. I'm pretty sure when I checked it. Ugh. She really, I think that was a huge turnoff to chant chief. I mean, I know that we're not talking a lot about Black Lives Matter anymore. We're not seeing those same sort of protests like we were in the summer of 2020. Well,
we should. There was just another child killed by police officers.
It's still a fucking major issue. This hasn't gone away. And you don't galvanize. And she also didn't bring people up. She gave no money to other candidates. When I was at a press conference when she showed up at that GOTV Center in Walt Manors, and every person, there were all kinds of electeds and candidates there, and one by one they came up to the podium. When she came in, her entire team made them clear out all the people behind her. She doesn't even want to associate with other candidates or other campaigns. She had no interest in bringing other people along. Oh. That's not right. That's not okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's not okay. So...
I don't know. I like Kamala.
Me too.
I just worry that she is going to have the Hillary, and maybe it's just a woman problem, right? That. But also, something...
you just mentioned an 89-year-old. I think it was Chuck Grassley was 89. Yes. Just got reelected. I think he's in Indiana or in Illinois or something. But we want to talk about Joe Biden, who. Hold on a second. Let me just check how old this motherfucker is now.
I think he's 78, 79.
He's 79.
Yeah.
In 2 years, in 2024, he'll be 81.
No.
And he's asking for 4 years. So he'll be 86 by the time, if he wins, he'll be 86 when he leaves. So let's talk about what that looks like. Because I got to tell you, I've seen him with his quips and all the things oh, he's so funny. But when I can't personally watch him at a press conference, it makes me nervous. He talks very slow.
He's gonna.
And I don't know what's going on.
He has the speech issue.
Yeah, he's not. It already seems
old. He had the stutter, and so a lot of people attribute
Yeah. He just seems very old to me.
He is old.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: the Biden administration has done a lot.
Oh yeah.
They have accomplished so much, and he's been able to do a lot of bipartisan stuff. He knows people, and he knows how to grease the wheels with people. I get it. But can we, for the love of God, have something in place? Can we have something in place where it's not the two of them and it's something new that and fresh and I don't know.
So speaking of that, I want to talk about our little mucks. Because last Friday we had Jaden D'Onofrio on, who was fucking incredible.
Incredible.
A Gen Z organizer and voter who did a lot of work here in Florida and across the country to make sure that Gen Z came out and he was in Broward. He was able to come over and hang out with us.
Okay.
And then I saw him on Monday night. I saw him on Tuesday. I'm like, look at my new buddy. He's such a cool kid, and I keep saying kid. Such a cool young man. And I felt very lucky that he was here and got to share what his ideas were, what he thinks the party can do, and how, let's be honest, if the Dems start making a plan to fucking get Gen Z involved, the Republicans will eventually take their rights away or try to manipulate them in some way.
Or they're going to, they're going to use them, right? They're going to come talk to them. They're going to register them to vote.
Yeah. So I love that. And then this Friday in 2 days, Maya Brown is going to be on. Who's an amazing lobbyist. She works on campaigns. She's a strategist across the state of Florida. Involved in so many beautiful, amazing campaigns this last one, including Ashley Gant, who took out James Bush down in Miami. Thank God. So very excited for everybody to hear about from Maya. I loved that interview too.
That was so good.
Yeah.
So good. And she does, doesn't she do Florida Black Girls?
Yes, and they do Florida Black Girls. It's Jasmine Rogers, Lindsay Pollard, and of course Maya Brown. It's on Twitter Spaces. Their one from their wrap up of the election was 2.5 hours. I'm about 30 minutes into it. It's really good.
Wow.
It's really, really good. But that day,
brilliant minds.
Yeah, totally. The three of them. And then that day, they talk about it a little bit. They said one candidate in particular, we just found out that Charlie Crist had $500,000 still sitting in the bank. Yeah. And they kind of, Maya on the Florida Black Girls Twitter space recording, you can go back and listen to it. She starts to she talked to us on the podcast about how her mind starts to go, like, how could this money work best? Right. And she starts analyzing, like, how many field people you could have had dropping literature for the $500,000.
Wow.
Right? And then, by the way, that money was then dispersed.
Oh, he did give it out.
Yeah.
Too little, too late, Charlie.
Especially if you know people work on his campaign, then you were lucky enough to get some.
Oh. Hi.
Charlie the bitch, Chris.
Woo!
Okay. Two more little small things. Okay. I was on our Odd Pods family. There's a music podcast called Infectious Groove. It's hosted by Russ. And when I met Russ a month ago for dinner, when Lauren and Russ came down, he was like, when are you going to come on the podcast? I'm like, I'm not cool enough to be on that podcast. But he said they had an open spot for one of their episodes. It's an epic cover battle. Ooh. And I was like, what's the song? And he said Jolene. And I was like, oh, I could do that right now. I don't even need to listen to the song. And it was the Dolly Parton original versus the White Stripes cover.
Ooh, and fun.
So much fucking fun. So I got to record that on Thursday night, and it was with Russ and Michelle, who's also the co-host on the show. What a delight she is. Girl, like, very dry, funny, and she gives Russ the business. I was fucking here for it. The whole time I was laughing, giggling the whole fucking time.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
And she was really great. And I got to quote Judge Judy, which always comes in handy. So that came out 2 days ago, Monday, 11/21. So everybody go back and listen to my appearance on Infectious. Also, like, he goes, tell us about the Milk Podcast. I'm like, I started talking. I'm like, I think this is right. And then we get to the end, and he's like, so why should people listen to the Milk? And I'm like, well, because we're cute. Like, I don't know what to say. It's so stupid. And then he starts talking about how much, he's like, I'm not into politics, but I know these ladies know what they're talking about, and that's like the show I go to. And I go, God, I wish I had come up with something better to say at the end of this podcast. So that was fun.
That's adorable.
Yeah. So,
I love it.
Yeah, go check it out. All right, wait, who's first?
I am, baby. Right?
Oh, wait! Today is our 150th episode! And we are doing a special international Muck episode.
International intrigue.
Yeah. So, because every time, there's a great podcast called, Hillary, fuck you. Working Class History, I think.
Oh, Working Class History. It's great.
So great.
Great.
And every time they do stories, I go, oh, this would be so good for Muck, and it's always international. And I'm like, fuck it, what the fuck am I? And so I'm so glad because there's so many good stories.
Oh, I
can't wait to hear what you picked.
Well, I'm sure you're gonna guess where I went.
Italia.
Oh,
Italy.
Yes, you knew that was coming.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh my God.
All right, today.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you the story of former Italian Prime Minister and President of the Christian Democratic Political Party, Aldo Moro.
Okay.
Aldo Moro was one of Italy's longest-serving prime ministers who enacted social and economic reforms, but when he's kidnapped, his appeals for release fall on deaf ears.
Oh no.
Yes, the story is a little crazy.
Let's go.
All right, so our story takes place primarily in Rome in the 1970s.
Roma,
hey!
Roma.
In 1978. So he was born in 1916.
1978 is a hell of a year.
Oh, well.
Hey.
From there, he moved to Milan as a child. After finishing high school, he attended the University of Bari, where he studied law and later became a law professor. And like I said, he was one of the longest serving prime ministers, and he spent most of his life in politics, like from when he first got his law degree. And from what I read, he started in around 1939 when he joined the University of Bari's Catholic Federation of University Students. And fun fact, he ends up becoming friends with this guy Giovanni Battista Monti, who later becomes Pope Paul VI.
Whoa!
So he went to college with a guy that ended up being the Pope, and they were buddies. Isn't that weird?
Totally weird.
Because when I think of a Pope, I just think they're already old. I don't think about oh, they grew up and they had friends and they lived, went to college and partied and now they're the Pope. It's weird.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
It's just, I don't know. I was oh, I guess he would have to go to college. So, by 1943, Moro helps form what's called the Christian Democracy, which was sort of like a Catholic centrist party. And it started in the middle of Nazi-occupied Italy. So they're kind of trying to fight against the fascist sort of ideas, and he's more centrist. And in Italy, there are so many. It's not the U.S. is so, we just have our two, we do have other parties, but let's face it, we really are a two-party system here, even though we have independents or whatever, or the Green Party, but we're a two-party system. But in Italy, there's so many parties, you know, it's just really long. So
my daughter was in school and they were talking about all these different parties, and they're talking about the Green Party, and she came home, this is probably a year ago, and she was like, yeah, it sounds, might be the Green Party. I go, you better get it together.
Yes.
Get it together. And because she just doesn't want anything to do with, I think because her father and I just were so crazy about our politics, our views were opposite, but she was just she's had it.
Yeah.
She's I'll be in the Green Party. Peace out, bitch.
Listen, the Green Party, it's the idea of the Green Party is great. It just can't go up against the machine of these two other parties. And that's what lost us that election.
Yeah, Jill Stein.
You know? And the other guy before that, the Ralph
Nader.
Ralph Nader. People vote for Ralph Nader. Come on.
What are you gonna do? I think it must give them some sort of calm and peace, that they don't have to be involved in the craziness of the two parties.
But guess what? Then you leave us with the craziness.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
We're gonna leave. We're gonna go next.
I bet they sleep very comfortably.
Can you imagine?
I can't sleep at all.
I can't
sleep
either.
At all. You motherfuckers. Green Party.
Oh my god.
I'd get away with murder if I went on trial for that. I'd look at the jury. I said, "Fucking Green Party." Oh, let her go. Poor thing.
Oh my god. So even though it was a centrist party, as time went on, it sort of moved more to a center-left kind of party. And according to his Encyclopedia Britannica page, he was elected as a deputy to the Constituent Assembly after World War II ended. And that assembly helped create the country's constitution at the time. So they kind of restructured after World War II. And from there, it just steamrolled. So from 1948 to 1959, he had all these different appointments. He was Undersecretary of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Justice, and finally, he also served as Minister of Public Instruction. So he's put in these positions throughout his career. And then in 1960, that's when he wins his first term as Prime Minister. He went on to serve Prime Minister 5 different times between 1960 and 1976.
Jesus.
Yeah. And so, again, like I said, he did a lot of economic, and he tried to put in some social reforms in his time. But it was he's elected, then he wasn't elected, then he's elected again. So it wasn't he served consecutively. It's here and there he's winning the seats. So after serving as Prime Minister for the last time, he was elected in 1976 as president of the Christian Democrats. So he's now leading this political organization. So even though he wasn't officially in public office, he still was very influential in Italian politics, in that position.
And it's so weird to hear about a political party with Christian in the name.
It is,
you know what I mean? But it is a very Catholic country.
Yeah, I know. I'm I was thinking the same thing.
It's so bizarre to hear Christian Democrat.
Yeah.
Very bizarre.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
Because we're so separation of church and state kind of thing. Yeah. So the major incident.
Ooh.
All right, so 1976, he's elected as the president of the Christian Democrats, and then in 1978 is when this situation occurs. So on March 11th, 1978, Moro was on his way to attend a special session in Rome, a legislative session, and members of the militant left-wing group called the Red Brigades kidnapped him.
Oh.
And according to history, just 5 days prior to this, like Moro had helped end like this government crisis that was happening, and then they were having this other special session, and so, this group kind of takes him because I guess of his involvement and I guess his like kind of level of power. Even though, like I said, he wasn't an elected official, but he still held a lot of political power.
Right.
So. The Red Brigades, according to Wikipedia, essentially they worked as a violent militant group who, through the use of violence, hoped to create what they called a revolutionary state. And they went after folks they perceived to be enemies of the working class. So they're really kind of strict, kind of, Marxist kind of ideology group, right? And like we're for the proletariats and all of that. So on that day, Moro's car was attacked by this group. They killed his bodyguards and then they whisked him off to like some undisclosed location. So like they kind of like the car is there. Obviously these people are killed and Moro's gone. And 7 days later, on March 18th, they sent a letter. So there a lot of these letters, but they sent a letter stating that Moro was going to be put under a, quote, people's trial unless the government paid. And what they wanted as payment was the release of their guys. So 13 of the Red Brigades were being held, right, in Turin. And so they're like, you release our guys in Turin and we give you guys back Moro. Now, most governments, as we know, don't really participate. They have like, we don't negotiate with terrorist rules, right? Because like if you continue to negotiate with a terrorist and you do these deals, it might prompt people to kidnap more people or do more things because they know they're going to get the payment that they want, right? And I just feel like in these situations when like a human life, it's not like they're just stealing something and like, oh, I stole some painting and you got to give me $10 million, you get it back. Like this is a human being that they've taken. And like, what does a government do?
I mean, the same thing with like, journalists that are taken in wartime or soldiers, the same thing.
It's, it's like, it's a very delicate situation. And, you give in, I don't know. So I just feel like it's a human life. Like, I feel like we have to try to do everything.
This is why you can't be in the room.
No, because I would be like, no, we gotta save them.
Yeah, you're too emotional.
Oh my god. So, but I get it, right? So, on March 9th...
Also, he had bodyguards, so clearly he was aware that at any point this kind of thing could happen.
Yes,
so he was trying to protect himself. I mean, maybe he was aware that this could be a possibility.
Yeah.
I
mean...
He put himself in that kind of position to be that, just
like vocal and...
Yeah.
So on March 19th and on April 4th, there were letters that were signed by Moro, evidently pleading for the government to help him. So So, they were writing letters, but then letters came in from him as well. Meanwhile, like, it wasn't like they were just like, oh, he's kidnapped, we can't do anything, like, fuck off. Like, they were really trying to find the secret people's prison, but to no avail. Like, so they're trying to get sort of intel on like where he could be and try to find the location, but they can't do it. So one of the communications from the Red Brigades reads, quote, in words, we have nothing more to say to the DC, its government and the accomplices who support it. The only language that the servants of imperialism have shown they can understand is that of weapons. And it is with this that the proletariat is learning to speak. We therefore conclude the battle that began on March 16th, carrying out the sentence to which Aldo Moro was convicted.
Ooh.
So they're like, we are going to put him on a people's trial.
Oh my God.
He was tried and convicted.
We hear this all the time with these groups. Yeah, they're going to be the ones who put them on trial. It's kangaroo bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's scary.
Yeah.
So some political leaders feared a couple of things. They were afraid like Moro was going to talk and leak information on some scandals that were happening at the time that the Christian Democrats had covered up.
Oh no!
So remember, he's head of the Christian Democrats, and so at the time there was a scandal called, and I would love to cover it at one point on the Muck, it was called the Lockheed bribery scandal, and that occurred when he was prime minister. And basically, it was a U.S. aerospace company that was involved in bribes trying
Lockheed
to sell,
Martin?
trying to sell aircraft. And the bribes occurred from the 1950s to the 1970s.
Oh
So it was like
God.
this 20-year span.
Yeah, that'd be fucking cool.
So that's like kind of being covered up.
Yeah.
And so they think like, oh God, is he going to start running his mouth about like this scandal and like
oh my God.
involvement in it? Moro even wrote that he could be, quote, induced to speak in a manner that could be unpleasant and dangerous in certain circumstances. So in one of his letters, he's like, guys, like you get me out or I'm running my mouth, right?
Oh my God.
And he,
I would not save you.
So he said, which he noted could lead to, quote, certain and immeasurable damage.
Dude, he's threatening people now?
Yeah.
I don't think you're in the place to fucking do that.
Well, but he's saying to the government, like, get me out or I'm going to run my mouth.
I know, but
right?
I mean, I really don't think that you should be like...
But then that might compel the government to go, oh God, we don't want this whole thing to get out. We got to...
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? I mean, I see his point where he's like, I got to get out of here. They're going to kill me. Like, give them what they want.
Holy
like, please.
shit.
Or, like, and doing whatever he can to try to save himself.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's like, I want to save my life.
Oh, man, it's wild.
So finally, on April 15th, after failed negotiation attempts, the Red Brigades communicated that Moro had been found guilty, like I said, at the People's Trial, and as a result, he would face death as punishment for his alleged crimes. They tried one last time to negotiate a trade for Moro, for those prisoners, but that went nowhere.
Do you think that these groups are like cults? Like, there's no fucking way you're standing in this thing. You're sitting in this thing.
Like,
you
knowing
think,
someone's going to die.
Yeah, and you think you can put someone on trial. They've got no law experience. They're not
Right.
lawyers or judges. Like, do you think that's a bit of a cult that you're like, you're the right leaders or you're the ones who's going to do right for the world. And you're
Right.
doing the
And-
right thing. And you're going to
what
kill
did that
somebody.
and what did the trial look like? You know,
Yeah,
like, did
answer
they have
for your
him,
crimes.
Yeah, like, are you standing there? Are you interrogated? Did you get a,
Yeah.
like...
And he gives them an answer. It's never going to be what they're looking
Yeah.
for. It's always going to be you're guilty.
Oh.
It's a really fucking like fucked up. They're in this thing. It's
They know,
it's
yeah.
the psychological part. You're in this group together. You have the same ideas.
Yeah.
So everything that sounds wild and crazy, like holding a trial and murdering somebody,
Right.
makes sense
And-
because you all are reasoning it out with each other.
And it's like, are they just using this trial as a way to justify killing him?
Yeah.
Because what person has ever gone free going, oh, hey, we're going to have this kangaroo court
Yeah.
and we're going to put this person on trial and then, oh, you know what? Yeah, your ideas. Oh, okay, sorry, we're going to let you go
Yeah.
home. No,
But
like
you-
they go in with the intent
Yeah,
they
and
know
I-
they're going to kill him.
Yes, and I honestly think
So,
when
like,
they
why
get
even
arrested,
bother?
like if they ever get arrested or whatever, like with the Patty Hearst, and she
Yeah.
was like, they're all sitting there, they're like, no, we were part of our organization. We had a court.
Yeah.
We fucking held people guilty.
Can you imagine this? Oh my
It's
God.
fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
I feel that way sometimes about like people in front of me at the bank teller line. Like if I have to go to the bank teller and they're
God.
not prepared and I'm sitting there waiting, or at the ATM, like if you drive up ATM and it takes them 20 fucking minutes at the ATM. Like I'm also like,
There's no patience.
I've just held you in contempt of court and you are guilty. Now murder.
Get out of line.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Oh my goodness. All right. So history also notes that on May 7th, Moro sent his wife a farewell letter
Oh,
that read in part, quote, "They have told me that they are going to kill me in a little while. I kiss you for the last time."
oh fuck. That's sad.
Isn't that sad? The Pope at the time, Paul VI, his buddy from college, even pleaded with the kidnappers on bended knee to release his friend. He was
Wow.
like, please.
They don't get involved in anything.
No,
Wow.
no, begged them. Nothing happened. So on May 9th, just 2 days after the letter, Moro's body was found shot 10 times in the trunk of a red Renault 4 road near Rome, very near to the Christian Democrats' headquarters.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Isn't that awful?
It's really sad.
Yeah. So 9 of 11 members of the Red Brigades were caught and prosecuted for his murder. And sort of the aftermath of that Red Brigades group, they disbanded in the 80s, but then they reformed in the 90s and then again in the 2000s. So they kind of like kept popping back up. And some...
Did they rename themselves or anything?
No, they're the Red Brigades.
Oh my God.
So some...
My time for a rebranding. Like,
Right.
like the Florida Democratic Party. Time to rebrand that bitch. The Happy Fun Time Party.
Right.
How about
Oh
that?
my
Try
God.
that.
Oh my God. So I have a couple points of interest.
They're known for murdering democracy in Florida.
What? Can we get that on a shirt?
Rebrand.
Rebrand. So So in a letter, Moro, so another letter that was released, Moro said he didn't want any Italian politicians at his funeral.
Ooh.
And he felt like they had failed him, and in fact his letter said he felt abandoned by his party. I mean, he ultimately he gave his life.
Yeah, but is
for
it
a party, and no one really tried to save him.
Yeah. To hold a grudge, is that Italian?
Oh.
Is it called anything that you know?
Not that I could think of, but people don't forget.
No, I mean that's what I mean. This is like this is a real Italian. He's like, don't. And by the way, I'm gonna die. My last kiss to you. Also, don't invite one of those motherfuckers to my funeral.
And then he said,
you gotta make sure. Yeah,
don't show up. Not a one of you. Can you imagine? So he wrote.
I hope he gave him secrets before he died too.
Right.
I hope he gave him some information.
He probably. Oh God, this poor guy.
Oh,
this poor guy.
Sad.
He's like, I helped start this party.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Oh my God.
And like no one helped.
See, this is real politics though.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit. It's about them. It's about themselves.
Yeah,
Everybody's about themselves.
It's so selfish.
It's
so he wrote, quote, on the life and death of Aldo Moro, history will be the judge.
Oof.
And his family made sure that no politicians, because they wanted to come, and they're like, you're not showing up.
Good.
Sorry.
Good for them. Good for them.
So another thing I thought was kind of weird, like just this year in 2022, the BBC reported that a note regarding Moro's abduction, in terms of who was responsible, like a note from the Red Brigade, was sold at an auction. Someone spent like 26,000 euros for this letter that's like, we have Moro, we're going to kill him, whatever. Wow. Isn't that weird? It's like the memorabilia stuff, like, and I know a lot of people said like this was in really poor taste. Like it was originally, they were trying to sell it for like $1,000 or $1,500, and then it went for $26,000. And it's kind of like the same thing when people want to buy like artwork done by like Charles Manson or something,
right.
you know? So what are your, people were saying, like, instead of selling it at auction, like, why not put it in a museum and talk about the dangers of terrorism and, like, this is, like, the result of that, rather than, like, someone just having it in their I don't know.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that kind of memorabilia, like serial killer memorabilia or memorabilia from, like, tragic events like this? Like, do you think people should be collecting that stuff? Or, like, you know what I mean? If someone was like, here's a drawing by Charles Manson, would you be like, oh, cool, I have a drawing by Charles Manson? Or would you be like, what the fuck?
I would be like, what the fuck?
Right?
I'm fascinated by serial killers and like true crime clearly and all that stuff, but that's a little too close.
It's a little too far.
It's a little too, I could not be in possession or like want to have anything like that. It makes, I just think about those families and the terror. Like that, I didn't watch any Jeffrey Dahmer thing on Netflix. I know that you might have watched some of it.
I did.
I really have no interest in, I don't know. I heard about it. I don't know. I think that there's something to be said about, like, what is it called? Not fantasy, but
glorifying.
You know what I mean? Like, there's something about that.
Yeah, and I don't know if that show was trying to like glorify him, but
humanize him.
It's just
like
trying to understand.
A clip with his dad. I saw a clip with the actor playing his dad, and the police are telling the dad like, "This is what your son's been up to," and I felt bad for the dad. And I'm like, it's just like this little clip, and I'm like, why do I feel bad about this father? Like, I can't get involved in this.
I mean, I can't imagine like if your child does something horrific.
Oh my God.
I feel horrible for any parent that has to go, oh my God, like this was my child, like,
bro.
But I think they were trying to come up for some reason to try to understand why he did what he did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. All right. So in 2013, an article from The Guardian noted that Italian prosecutors wanted to revisit the case.
Oh.
Like all these years later. And I guess the issue is that not that it was anyone other than the Red Brigades that were involved, but that there was a lack of police and government action. And the article notes that supposedly there were missed tips and other things that could have contributed to Moro's rescue, but all of that was mishandled. And so the question was it deliberately mishandled
on purpose?
Because of like his political power, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of like questions about that were coming up. A lot of people were like conspiracy theory, like this was like a deliberate thing to kill him, you know. Another thing that I thought was interesting is his friend, Pope Paul VI, presided over his funeral. And he stated, quote, We have come together in our cathedral of Rome to pray and bear witness. In a world of hate and blood, that God's love may conquer everything, we invoke the Holy Spirit so that the violence of hatred may be overcome by the force of forgiveness and love. And then he goes on and kind of like shocks all of the Italian people, because remember, this is the Pope, right? He says, and who can listen to our lament if not you, O God of life and death? You did not hearken to our supplication for the safety of Aldo Moro, this good, meek, wise, innocent, and friendly man. But you, O Lord, have not abandoned his immortal spirit, sealed by faith in Christ, who is the resurrection and the life. So you did not listen to my prayer. God. Like the Pope is like, you didn't listen to me, right? He's the channel to God. Right? Holy shit. And he says this like at a public like funeral, and everyone in Italy's like, what?
Yeah, basically questioning whether God can actually hear you praying.
Yeah.
And makes those things happen.
Wild.
That is,
and dude. Then he went after the mafia. Oh. And he basically said, quote, the judgment of God is coming. And they retaliated, and they bombed the cathedral over there.
Well, have you watched Vatican Girl yet?
I need to watch it.
Watch Vatican Girl on Netflix. You will see that the Pope and the Vatican and the mafia there are so fucking tied together closely.
Oh my God.
It's wild, but it's political. Ooh. It's a mystery with this girl. It's so much shit happening. It's so fucking wild. You have to watch that movie or the show.
I'll watch it. And then another thing that I talked a little bit about before was this conspiracy theory, and that the conspiracy theory was that the Red Brigades were just sort of manipulated by the Italian Secret Service, right-wing groups, and the CIA because Moro was a little too controversial. And then one more fun fact is that in 2012, the Holy See got notification to start the beatification process for Moro to make him a saint. But then, so for non-Catholics, like that is like, and it's a long process. They got to see like have any miracles been, can be attributed to Moro, like after his death and this, that, and the other. But remember all those scandals. So in 2015, they were like, we kind of have to stop because we don't know if he was involved in these scandals. So who knows? Maybe he'll be a saint one day. But you've got to love that process. Like, we just like this dude, like, now let's make him a saint.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like, how do you prove the miracles? I don't know. Like, it's so
Girl,
funny.
Please.
But that's the story of the murder and kidnapping of Aldo Moro.
Excellent. Loved it.
Wasn't that a fun little story? I mean, I hate to say fun, the man was kidnapped and killed. But
guess what? Our stories are kind of like similar. I also do like a plot, so it's awesome. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to cover the July 20th plot.
Okay.
On July 20th, 1944, Klaus von... Listen, it's all German, and I'm going to fuck it all up. Just don't write me a letter. Don't tell me I'm an idiot, I know. Klaus von Stauffenberg and other conspirators attempted to assassinate Adolf Hitler, Führer of Nazi Germany, inside of his Wolf's Lair field headquarters near Rostenburg, East Prussia, now present-day Poland. The name, Operation Valkyrie, originally referring to part of the conspiracy, has been associated with the entire event. Okay. Since 1938, there had been groups plotting an overthrow of some kind within the German army and the German military intelligence organization. Groups of military plotters exchanged ideas with civilian, political, and intellectual resistance groups in the Krasser Kreis and other secret circles.
I love this little accent.
Thank you.
It's so cute.
It's German. Plans to stage an overthrow and prevent Hitler from launching a new world war were developed in 1938 and 1939, but were aborted. One reason was failure of the Western powers to oppose Hitler's aggression until 1939. America. In 1942, a new conspiratorial group formed, led by Colonel Henning von Tresckow, who commanded Army Group Center in Operation Barbarossa. Tresckow systematically recruited oppositionists into the group's staff, making it the nerve center of the army resistance. So that's what they would do. They would kind of build these groups and figure out how they were going to do this, right? Little could be done against Hitler as he was heavily guarded, and none of the plotters could get near enough to him. During 1942, Hans Oster, deputy chief of counter-espionage, and Tresckow nevertheless succeeded in rebuilding an effective resistance network. Their most important recruit was General Friedrich Olbrich, head of the General Army Office Headquarters, who controlled an independent system of communications to reserve units throughout Germany. Linking this asset to Trescow's resistance group and Army Group Center created a viable coup apparatus, which is incredible. Like, not only are they like, first of all, if you drop a hint that like you might want to overthrow Hitler, in 2 seconds you'll be arrested and fucking killed, right?
It's all going to be coded and
but
secret.
they were purposely picking people that could help them, like in really high positions that, you know, could go along with it.
I mean, and that's very scary. And scary.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
And but the fact that like you're taking that risk because like they understand how desperate this needs to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. In late 1942, Treschow and Olbrich formulated a plan to assassinate Hitler and stage an overthrow during Hitler's visit to the headquarters of Army Group Center at Smolensnik in March 1943, placing a bomb on his plane. This was called Operation Spark. I love that. The bomb...
Wait.
Spark!
This is like the best name ever.
I know.
Operation Spark.
That's going to be my drag name. The bomb failed to detonate, and a second attempt a week later with Hitler at an exhibition in Berlin also failed. These failures demoralized the conspirators. During 1943, Treschow tried without success to recruit senior army field commanders to support a seizure of power. Treschow in particular worked on his commander-in-chief Army Group Center Field Marshal Gunther von Kluge to persuade him to move against Hitler, and at times succeeded in gaining his consent, only to find him indecisive at the last minute. However, despite their refusals, none of the field marshals reported their treasonous activities to the Gestapo or Hitler, which is kind of nice.
So then that tells you that they're maybe on board. They can't be as vocally, can't be vocally
on board,
but they agree.
Yeah. So what is their motivation, right? They were opposed to Hitler and his Nazi policies. While the main goal of the plotters was to remove Hitler from power, they did so for various reasons. They had these different reasons. The majority of the group behind the July 20th plot were conservative nationalists and idealists. Martin Borchardt portrays their motivations as a matter of aristocratic resentment, writing that the plot was mainly carried out by conservative elites who were initially integrated by the Nazi government, but during the war lost their influence and were concerned about regaining it. So there's different reasons, right? However, at least in
it's not the most noble cause.
Right. However, at least in Stauffenberg's case, the conviction that Nazi Germany's atrocities against civilians and prisoners of war were a dishonor to the nation and its military was likely a major motivating factor. Historian Judith Michel assesses the circle around the July 20th group as a diverse group that included liberal Democrats, conservatives, social democrats, authoritarian aristocrats, and even communists. Mm-hmm. And the common goal was to overthrow Hitler's regime and bring a swift end to the war. Oh. Many members of the plot had helped the Nazis gain power and shared revisionist foreign policy goals pursued by Hitler, and even at the time of the plot were anti-democratic, hoping to replace Hitler with a conservative authoritarian government involving aristocratic rule.
Oh my God.
They opposed mass participation in government state, right? So they wanted to overthrow Hitler, but then bring in, have a new sort of government where it's like kings and queens and like high rule.
Yeah. So, but, yeah, so they want this aristocracy.
Yeah.
But they have failed big time because it's like they probably thought we're going to use Hitler to get what we want.
Trump.
And then they're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, Trump.
Yeah.
Trump. That's what they did with Trump. They used that motherfucker up. God. By mid-1943, the tide of war was turning decisively against Germany. The army plotters and their civilian allies became convinced that Hitler should be assassinated so that a government acceptable to the Western Allies could be formed, and a separate peace negotiated in time to prevent a Soviet invasion of Germany. In August 1943, Treschow met for the first time a young staffer named Lieutenant Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg. Severely wounded in North Africa, Stauffenberg was a political conservative and a zealous German nationalist. Oh. From early 1942, he had come to share two basic convictions with many military officers: that Germany was being led to disaster and that Hitler's removal from power was necessary. He decided that the Führer's assassination was a lesser moral evil than Hitler's remaining in power.
I mean,
that's how you're justifying it, right?
He's not
probably
wrong.
very
Look
similar
at all
to
these
the
millions of people he's killing.
Yeah, but similar also to your case where these guys are going. I'm going to have this. We're going to get rid of this guy for the greater good.
Right, but yeah.
I mean, he's not Hitler.
Yeah,
he's not Hitler.
Hitler is like way, and he was also sort of like against the whole fascist regimes.
But I mean, I'm talking about the kidnapper mentality of like
this idea.
Right.
It's just, and I feel like all these kind of plots that went nowhere is like it just reminds me of like Castro.
Yes, I was thinking about your story with Castro.
Like,
remember the perfume and the fucking
like one thing
so
after the
good.
next.
They said they get his old girlfriend to go back and visit him
and
to like try to kill him, and she's like, fuck it. She falls back and she's fucking him. Like, what the hell?
I mean,
FBI's like, god damn.
She's scared.
Yeah. She's not scared of that dick. Charming. Castro's fucking charming.
Hi.
Stauffenberg brought a new tone of decisiveness to the ranks of the resistance movement. When Tresckow was assigned to the Eastern Front, Stauffenberg took charge of planning and executing the assassination attempt. The replacement army had an operational plan called Operation Valkyrie, which was to be used in the event that a disruption caused by the Allied bombing of German cities would cause a breakdown in law and order or an uprising by the millions of forced laborers from occupied countries now being used in German factories. Ulbricht suggested that the plan could be used to mobilize the reserve army for the purpose of a coup. In August and September 1943, Tresckow drafted the revised Valkyrie plan and new supplementary orders, which said, quote, a secret declaration began with these words: the Fuhrer Adolf Hitler is dead. A treacherous group of party leaders has attempted to exploit the situation by attacking our embattled soldiers from the rear in order to seize power for themselves, end quote. So basically what was going to happen is they're going to, this little group, or it was kind of a big group, we're going to assassinate Adolf Hitler. And then because of the way they had all their communication set up, they were going to then tell all of his leaders that a small group of people that they were going to start arresting, like Adolf loyalists, were the ones who plotted to kill him.
Oh,
right? And blame it on this other group. Yeah,
that's smart.
Yeah. So that was like, it's like Adolf is dead, and these party leaders are the ones that did it, right? They were going to start spreading.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love this kind of stuff.
Me too. Detailed instructions were written for occupation of government ministries in Berlin, Heinrich Himmler's headquarters in East Prussia, radio stations and telephone offices, and other Nazi apparatus through military districts and concentration camps.
Wow.
Yeah, they were set up. They were like set up. All written information.
This is so strategic.
I know. Love it. All written information was handled by Tresckow's wife, Erika, and by Margaret von Oven, his secretary. Both women wore gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints.
Oh. Wow. They thought about everything.
I know. The first plan was to shoot him during dinner at the army base camp, but the plan was aborted because it was widely believed that Hitler wore a bulletproof vest. The conspirators also considered poisoning him, but that was not possible because his food was specially prepared and tasted. They concluded that a time bomb was the only option.
Wow.
Yeah.
What? No, sorry.
What?
I'm sorry. I was just going to start singing something.
Please.
No.
We're about to blow off Hitler. Let's talk about a song.
So I love how this man has people taste his food. Like, you know things are bad.
Dude.
When you have a person who has to taste, that person, imagine being the person who has to taste Hitler's food.
Oh my God. It's
like,
probably people they've pulled in from the concentration camps.
Yeah, like, here, eat this.
Yeah.
And then, like, they might die. Like, what?
I wonder how long you have to wait, too.
Yeah, doesn't his food get cold?
Yeah. Ugh,
what's happening?
What's he really like, I wonder?
I told you, he was a meth head.
Probably super paranoid, too.
Super paranoid meth head. Who's like, try my food, and then he's got to eat everything cold 5 hours later because he's so paranoid. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's, I told this Ricky Gervais joke the last time I'm talking about the concentration camps, but then he did another joke that I thought was so funny on that Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. He said, say what you will about Hitler and Eva Braun. They spent their last night together. They get married in this bunker, and they spend the night together. They get up in the morning. He makes her a cup of tea, and he poisons her. He goes, and then he shoots himself. He goes, say what you will, but that's a hell of a honeymoon.
Wow. Oh my God. Can you imagine? Can you imagine this guy?
He must have some dick. If he can convince this woman
I don't think so.
to hang around, what's she doing there?
I think she's scared out of her mind. Like, what happens when you're like, oh, I'm casually dating this guy.
Oh.
And now we're kind of
He's
like...
really sweet to
Yeah,
me.
we're kind of like a thing. Oh, shit, he took over a country.
Yeah.
Like, how do you break up
Ava,
with him?
who's your boyfriend? It's a secret.
Yeah, how do you...
He's so sweet to me, though. Oh, my God. It's Hitler.
You guys just have the wrong idea of him.
Yeah, you just don't really know him like I do.
Oh, my God.
If you were to get to know him, you'd really like him.
But how do you break up with that?
But are you Jewish? Because then you can't come.
Yeah, but wouldn't you be scared to death to break up with like an insane
you'd have to disappear.
person?
You'd have to fucking run for your life.
And where are you going? So she's probably like, well, shit. Now I'm stuck with him.
She probably could have gotten out of the country. I don't know. Let's
Who
get to it.
knows?
Because there's a part of this in here that kind of reminds me of like if someone's trying to get out, you have to really, the way communications move so quickly, you have to get out of this gate and that gate and that gate before you can. And people will stop you along the way. Like we're in a war.
God.
You know what I mean? Like checkpoints.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus.
So, so they wanted to do a time bomb. Operation Valkyrie could only be put into effect by General Frederick Fromm, commander of the Reserve Army. So he had to be either won over to the conspiracy or in some way neutralized that the plan was to succeed. So he didn't know what was going on, but they needed him to be involved. So by the summer of 1944, the Gestapo was closing in on the conspirators, right? So they know something's going on. When Stauffenberg sent Teschko a message asking whether there was for any reason for trying to assassinate Hitler given no political purpose would be served, Teschko's response was, quote, the assassination must be attempted, coûte que coûte, whatever the cost. Even if it fails, we must take action in Berlin, for the practical purpose no longer matters. What matters now is that the German resistance movement must take the plunge before the eyes of the world and of history. Compared to that, nothing else matters, end quote.
Wow.
Yeah. So, on July 18th, rumors reached Stauffenberg that the Gestapo had knowledge of the conspiracy and that he might be arrested at any time. This was apparently not true, but there was a sense that the net was closing in and the next opportunity to kill Hitler must be taken because there might not be another. On the morning of Thursday, July 20th, Stauffenberg flew back to the Wolfschatz, which is the wolf's lair, right, where Hitler hangs, for another Hitler military conference with a bomb in his briefcase.
That's risky.
At around 12:30 p.m. as the conference began, Stauffenberg asked to use a washroom, saying that he had to change his shirt, which indeed was soaked through his sweat.
Because he's scared out of his mind.
Got a bomb in his briefcase, bitch.
My God. And the other thing with being Hitler at this time, who's already paranoid, he's paranoid. Yeah. But you can't trust anybody.
No.
So imagine like living your life every day
paranoid.
And you don't trust anybody.
Yeah. It's wild.
I don't know how you. That alone, like the anxiety.
Yeah.
Plus throw the meth on top. Jesus. These people.
Fucking wild.
These people on like around him must be like, oh God, is he going to think that I'm, and then the people around who might be loyal to him. Probably paranoid, like, oh my God, is he going to think that I'm betraying him?
Yeah.
Or,
what do you know?
No, that's too much stress, man.
There, assisted by von Heiften, which is another conspirator, he used pliers to crush the end of the pencil detonator, inserted into a 1 kilogram block of plastic explosive wrapped in brown paper. So he had to detonate it before he could go back into the
Oh my God. So he's in the bathroom trying to put this together.
Yeah, sweating through his fucking clothes. The pencil detonator consisted of a thin copper tube containing cupric chloride that would take about 10 minutes to silently eat through the wire holding back the firing pin from the percussion cap.
What?
Yeah, it was, so he had to do this,
and then he's got to get
back in the room, put it by Hitler.
But then he's got to leave the room.
Well, it was slow going due to war wounds that had cost Stauffenberg an eye, his right hand, and 2 fingers on his left hand. This motherfucker's he's got this.
Wait a
He's
second.
doing it like this.
No, wait.
That's why he needed the assistant. He had no hand.
What?
Fuck. This is the best person for the job. It's like the Florida Democratic Party trying to put an assassination attempt together. Put somebody in there with no hands and no fingers and no eye. Oh my God. Von Stauffenberg is the Florida Democrat. I'm so glad we can laugh now since we're losing all of our fucking rights. Okay, anyway.
This is so...
And usually they try to assassinate all of us. all of us.
Oh my god.
Interrupted by a guard knocking on the door, advising him that the meeting was about to begin.
Oh,
He's
no.
like fucking shaking.
Oh,
He was not
no.
able to prime the second bomb, which he gave to his aide. Right, so the second one's not.
His aide? Why isn't the aide doing all of this? Help him out. He got 10 minutes.
I think he was helping him do the first one.
Oh my god.
Because he
this
has
is
no
not.
hand.
Did they practice this? This is not. This is
Okay,
not.
hold
this
on,
is
let's
no
get there,
bueno,
let's get there.
man.
Stauffenberg placed the single primed bomb inside his briefcase and entered the conference room containing Hitler and 20 officers, positioning the briefcase under the table near Hitler. After a few minutes, Stauffenberg received a planned telephone call and left the room. It is presumed that Colonel Heinz Brandt, who was sitting next to Hitler, used his foot to move the briefcase aside by pushing it behind the leg of the conference table because it was like in the way.
Yeah.
Thus unwittingly deflecting the blast from Hitler, but causing the loss of one of his legs and his own demise when the bomb detonated. So he moved it to get it out of the way, and then I guess the conference table was in the middle was one like large leg that kind of kept it from really doing any damage to Hitler.
Bad luck right there.
Yeah. At 12:42, the bomb detonated, demolishing the conference room and killing a stenographer instantly. More than 20 people in the room were injured, with 3 officers later dying. Hitler survived, as did everyone else who was shielded from the blast by the conference table leg. His trousers were singed and tattered, and he suffered from a perforated eardrum, as did most of the other 24 people in the room. I got a picture of his pants for the story. I don't know how this motherfucker survived this.
Oh, is it all just
yes,
soot
like
covered?
ripped.
Oh.
They're like ripped pants. Yeah.
Oh.
So Stauffenberg, as soon as he takes the call, he fucking dips, right? And he starts running. So he was seen leaving the conference area building by Kurt Salterberg, a soldier on guard duty, who did not consider this out of the ordinary, as attendants sometimes left documents in their cars, things like whatever. He sees them leave by. He then saw a massive cloud of smoke, wood splinters, and paper and men being hurled through a window and door.
Holy shit.
Stauffenberg, upon witnessing the explosion and smoke, erroneously assumed that Hitler was dead. He then climbed into a staff car with his aide and managed to bluff his way through 3 checkpoints. Werner von Haften then tossed the second unprimed bomb into the forest as they made a dash for Rostenburg airfield, reaching it before it could be realized that Stauffenberg could be responsible for the explosion.
If he would have had both those bombs in there, they would have all been
totally
dead. I mean, so the fact though that they were willing to kill a room full of people.
Listen, they're all Hitler loyalists. What are you going to do?
Right, but
it's for the greater good. By 1 o'clock, he was airborne, so he got on a plane. He was able to get out of there. By the time Stauffenberg's aircraft reached Berlin about 4 o'clock, General Erich Feldgebel, an officer of the Wolfslayer who was in on the plot, had phoned the Bender Block, their headquarters in Berlin, and told the plotters that Hitler had survived the explosion. Because at this point, all of those phone calls had started happening, where they're like, Hitler's dead, Hitler's dead, Hitler's dead, and started to spread the word so that they could start arresting these loyalists and blaming it on them, right? As a result, the plot to mobilize Operation Valkyrie would have no chance of succeeding once the officers of the reserve army knew that Hitler was alive.
Can you imagine that phone call?
Yeah. There was more confusion there was even more confusion when Stauffenberg's aircraft landed and he phoned from the airport to say that Hitler was in fact dead. Like, he thought he died.
And they're like, bro, you're wrong.
Yeah. The plotters did not know whom to believe. Finally, at 4 o'clock, Ulbricht issued the orders for Operation Valkyrie to be mobilized.
Oh, no.
The facilitating General Fromm, however, phoned Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel at the Wolfslayer and was assured that Hitler was alive. So Fromm was the one that they needed to stay on their side. But when he finds out that Hitler's still alive, he's like, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
Right?
You didn't deliver. You didn't deliver.
This told Fromm that the plot had been traced to his headquarters. Oh, wait. Keitel demanded to know Stauffenberg's whereabouts, because Stauffenberg had landed in Berlin, was going to that Bender Block.
Right.
Because that's where all of this stuff was going to start happening. So now Keitel wanted to know where the fuck is Stauffenberg. And that's why Fromm was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
They're going to be coming here. I'm in trouble. Like, I could get in trouble.
I got to rat him out.
Yeah. So Fromm replied that he thought Stauffenberg was with Hitler. Ain't he with you? I thought he was at your meeting. What do you mean? Where is he? Trying to play dumb on the phone. I don't know where he is.
Wow.
At 4:40, Stauffenberg and Haften the aide, arrived at Benderblock in Berlin, and Fromm, who was there, presumably trying to protect himself, changed sides and attempted to have Stauffenberg arrested.
Oh, talk about every man for himself.
Yeah. Ulbricht and Stauffenberg restrained Fromm at gunpoint, and by this time Himmler had taken charge of the situation and had issued orders countermanding Ulbricht's mobilization of Operation Valkyrie. So, in many places, the coup was going ahead, led by officers who believed that Hitler was dead.
Oh my God.
City commandant and conspirator General Paul von Heyse ordered the Walker Battalion Großbusch Deutschland under the command of Major Otto Ernst Riemer to secure the Wilhelmstraße and arrest propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels.
Oh.
You know this guy.
Yeah, Jesus.
In Vienna, Prague, and many other places, troops occupied Nazi party offices and arrested Gaultiers and SS officers. So part of their plan was going through.
Okay.
But it all kind of then falls apart. Around 6:10, the commander of military district Berlin, General Joachim von Kortzfleisch, who was summoned to the Benderblock, which is in Berlin, he angrily refused Ulbricht's orders and kept shouting, "The Führer is alive! The Führer is alive!" He was arrested and held under guard. At 7 o'clock, Hitler was sufficiently recovered to make phone calls.
Dang.
He called Goebbels at the propaganda ministry, and Goebbels arranged for Hitler to speak to Major Riemer, commander of the troops surrounding the ministry. After assuring him that he was still alive, Hitler ordered Riemer to regain control of the situation in Berlin, and Major Riemer ordered his troops to surround and seal off the Benderblock, but not to enter the building. So this is where all our dudes are, inside this. At 8 o'clock, a furious Witzleben arrived at the Benderblock and had a bitter argument with Stauffenberg, who was still insisting that the coup go ahead.
I mean, what else are they going to do?
Yeah, and so he left shortly afterwards, Weisselberg, and around this time, the planned seizure of power in Paris was aborted when Field Marshal Gunther von Klug, who had recently been appointed commander-in-chief of the West, learned that Hitler was still alive. So now they're all finding out, and they're all like, fuck it, I'm out.
Oh, no.
As Riemer regained control of the city and word spread that Hitler was still alive, the less resolute members of the conspiracy in Berlin began to change sides. Fromm was freed from his room, and fighting broke out in the Benderblock between officers supporting and opposing the coup. Stauffenberg was wounded after a shootout. After the fighting was still ongoing, Riemer and his forces arrived at the Benderblock, and the conspirators were overwhelmed and arrested. By 11 o'clock, Fromm and Riemer had regained control of the building. Perhaps hoping that a show of zealous loyalty would save him, Fromm convened an impromptu court-martial consisting of himself and sentenced Ulbricht, Stauffenberg, and Haften and another officer, Albrecht Merz von Kornhelm, to death. Despite the protests from Riemer, who had been ordered by Hitler to arrest the conspirators, at 12:10 a.m. on July 21st, the 4 officers were executed in the courtyard outside, possibly to prevent them from revealing Fromm's involvement.
Wow.
Right? Others would have been executed as well, but at 12:30, Wolfen SS personnel led by Otto Skorzeny arrived, and further executions were forbidden.
Oh my God.
Over the following weeks, Himmler's Gestapo, driven by a furious Hitler, rounded up nearly everyone who had the remotest connection with the plot. The discovery of letters and diaries in the homes and offices of those arrested revealed the plots of 1938, 1939, and 1943.
No!
And this led to further rounds of arrests, including that of Colonel General Franz Halder, who finished the war in a concentration camp. Under Himmler's new Spitzenhaft, which was called blood guilt laws.
Jesus.
Many relatives of the principal plotters were also arrested in the immediate aftermath of the failed plot. More than 7,000 people were arrested, and 4,980 people were executed.
Wow.
From finding all that information.
And what a way to deter people from trying to do another coup.
That's it.
When it's like, well, it's not my life on the line.
Control.
It's my family's life on the line.
Yep. Which would stop people. Would stop me.
Of course.
Not all of them were connected with the plot, since the Gestapo used the occasion to settle scores with many other people suspected of opposition sympathies. Alfons Heck, former Hitler Youth member and a later historian, describes the reaction many Germans felt to the punishment of the conspirators. Quote, "When I heard that German officers had tried to kill Adolf Hitler, I was enraged. I fully concurred with the sentences imposed on them. Strangling, I felt, was too good for them.
What?
This was the time, precisely, when we were at a very precarious military situation, and the only man who could possibly stave off disaster was Adolf Hitler."
Oh my God.
That opinion was shared by many Germans.
Jesus.
Germans did not adore Hitler, who did not belong to the Hitler Party. End quote.
Wow.
Allied radio stations was speculated on who the possible remaining suspects could be. Many of them were eventually implicated in the plot. Very few of the plotters tried to escape or to deny their guilt when arrested. Those who survived interrogation were given perfunctory trials before the People's Court that always decided in favor of the prosecution. The court's president, Roland Fleischler, was a fanatical Nazi, seen shouting furiously and insulted the accused in the trial, which was filmed for propaganda purposes. The plotters, like you're saying, like, look at what can happen to you. The plotters were stripped of their uniforms and given old, shabby clothes to humiliate them for the cameras. The officers involved in the plot were tried before the Court of Military Honor, a drumhead court-martial that merely considered that evidence furnished to it by the Gestapo before expelling the accused from the army in disgrace and handing them over to the People's Court. The first trials were held on August 7th and 8th of 1944. Hitler had ordered that those found guilty should be hanged like cattle.
Wow.
Many people took their own lives prior to either their trial or their execution. Tresco killed himself the day after the failed plot by using a hand grenade in no man's land between Russian and German lines.
Oh my God.
Fabian von Schlaffendorf remembers Tresco saying the following before his death, quote, "The whole world will vilify us now, but I am still totally convinced that we did the right thing. Hitler is the arch enemy not only of Germany, but of the world. When, in a few hours' time, I go before God to account for what I have done and left undone, I know I will be able to justify what I did in the struggle against Hitler. None of us can bewail his own death. Those who consented to join our circle put on the robe of Nessus. A human being's moral integrity begins when he is prepared to sacrifice his life for his convictions." End quote.
Ooh. Beautiful.
Fromm's attempt to win favor by executing Stauffenberg and others on the night of July 20th had merely exposed his own previous lack of action and apparent failure to report the plot. Having been arrested on July 21st, Fromm was later convicted and sentenced to death by the People's Court. Despite his knowledge of the conspiracy, his formal sentence charged him with poor performance in his duties. Hitler personally commuted his sentence from the hanging to the more honorable firing squad.
Oh, okay.
As a result of the failed coup, every member of the Wehrmacht was required to re-swear his loyalty oath by name to Hitler on July 24th, 1944. The military salute was replaced throughout the armed forces with the Hitler salute, in which the arm outstretched and the salutation Heil Hitler was given.
God, how disgusting.
That's my international story.
It's great. And it's, it's dangerous when you let someone like that in power. Let's remember that when you think about putting the check next to DeSantis' name.
Oh, God, for real. When you said something about a jet earlier, I wanted to tell you, I started watching this documentary on Netflix called Pepsi, Where's My Jet?
Oh, I saw that.
It's really good. I watched the first episode. It's so fucking amazing. You have to watch it.
Oh, I will. I have some time this week.
Do it. And then also, as always, from our first time we started recording, and you did the very first November Thanksgiving episode. Tina told us about what a guinea Thanksgiving is, and what that means to be an Italian American, and what that means for Thanksgiving and the food that's laid out. So I'm gonna replay that I'll put that back out on Thursday, so you can hear Tina talk about what a full guinea Thanksgiving is.
Thanksgiving. I'm doing Thanksgiving this year.
Are you? Are you doing the full?
No, I am doing that in the past.
And
I'm gonna do that, but I'm not gonna do the past.
Okay.
It's too much.
Right.
But I'm doing the antipasto, and then I'll probably, the fruit and the dessert, whatever. But the only part, but I'm hesitating. I think if I end up at Mimi's Ravioli and they have some good butternut squash ravioli, I might do a pasta.
Oh my God.
I might do a pasta.
Yeah. A pasta.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
And the bird.
The birds. I'm doing the bird.
Yeah.
God help me.
Are you going to have a lot of people over?
No, just my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my sister-in-law, my mom and my dad, and then us.
Yeah. Lovely.
Still, it's 10 people.
Yeah. That's lovely.
And they're all get a big bird, get a big bird. So I got a big bird. I'm what am I doing?
Oh
How am I doing this? But I delegated.
Oh, good.
So I delegate. I said to my mother, like, you're doing this and this. I said to my mother-in-law, like, you guys are bringing that.
This.
And
good.
so, like, I'm really doing the bird. I'm going to do the anapasta. I'm going to do, like, a big anapasta thing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about doing the anapasta thing that I want to do. And then, you know, like the potatoes. And everyone else is bringing other sides.
Good.
And then I ordered a pie from, we have a friend, Kelly Rabin, and her sister Dale does, I think it's like Delicious Dale or Baked by,
I think it's Baked by Dale.
Baked by Dale. And last year I ordered the pumpkin pie from her, and I'm doing it again this year. So
nice.
Yeah. So support local people, you know? So that's what I'm doing. It's a lot. It's too much. But I'm keeping it. Oh, and guess what I'm doing on Wednesday?
What?
I'm going to Hamilton.
Oh!
I'm so excited!
Are you going alone?
No, my son and I are going.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Yeah, so for my birthday this year, I was just laughing about this with my husband. When it was my birthday, he's like, Ellie, I think your birthday's today. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, what do you want? And I was like, I already bought myself my birthday present. He's like, awesome, what'd you get? And I was like, I got 2 tickets to Hamilton for my son and I to go.
Oh.
And because my oldest loves Hamilton. And I was like, oh, that'll be a fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Wednesday night.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, I'm so excited.
So fucking good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so I thought that'll be a fun,
yes.
like, night.
I love this.
Yeah.
Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy gobble gobble.
Yes. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving and enjoy the time with your family. And, you know, we're in it now. We're in the holiday season.
We're in the holiday season.
It's here. I love Thanksgiving. It's always been my favorite holiday.
It is a good, I mean, it's at the food.
Yeah.
I just like the food.
Me too.
So.
Me too. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, bye.
Bye.